Welcome to the Monsters Playbook, an actual play Monster of the Week podcast where I'm not going to do unique intros like this anymore because they are a lot of work to come up with. So now that the cover story campaign is well and truly over with, it is time to answer some questions from you, our listeners, and reflect back on the years that were. All these times, all these adventures that we've had together, and talk about some of our, my very favorite question. What was everybody's least favorite part?
That is actually the first question that we have. We have several questions from Thriftland, so we'll just start off here, and these are for everybody. What's everybody's favorite story moment? And that's a good way to kick it off, I think.
Okay, I think I'm going to go first. I think one of my favorite moments, just because it is so Mark and it's so random, I think it was the cell phone store.
With Anna.
Oh,
that was a pretty solid
good
episode.
Anna and Mark moments are just another breed.
That was
true.
Wild, and that was pretty fun.
My favorite story moment is probably on the complete opposite end of the spectrum from that silliness. My favorite story moment was when Kira and Ember rebuilt the Sea Kingdom. I thought that was great. Very like a culmination of kind of her character journey, and kind of there as a place too. Just like seeing that restored was really cool. So I think that was mine.
It's not fair that we have to choose one.
I was gonna say there are several.
Because I was like, okay, I could do this one, but is that one better or more favorite than this one? But then, yeah, fuck.
Well, you took mine, Lauren, but I will say my other one was the whole thing surrounding going back to Mark's mom's house for the first time and meeting other Mark. And then when Mark's mom put the hex on Casey to make her see red and go battle mode, like that, all of that, and like Rex, and that whole episode was just a lot of what I loved about this story, all wrapped in like a very magical human package.
Did you think of one, Miah?
Okay. Yeah, I guess I'll just go with this one. I feel like my favorite moment was when Casey kissed Kira.
Yeah.
And the aftermath of that.
I thought about that one too. That was a crazy one.
Also pretty on brand.
Yeah.
I think I even got tears that epised. I was
we
like,
all
damn.
were tearing up.
Mm-hmm.
You definitely shed some tears. I think Jonny also was like kind of like.
Yep.
I shed some screams.
Yeah.
I was making a face.
One of our first like early like really good moments for the podcast that we have recorded. Like, because we had a lot of great ones in season 1, but I feel like for season 2 that was kind of like one of the big first ones.
Yeah.
And as well as some of the stuff with like Mark and his mom and all of that whole arc, and like what Rex Crook was doing was crazy.
Jonny grins audibly.
I was going to say that might also be my most harrowing
harrowing story moment, which is the next question.
Yeah, I will say, though, I think what outbeats it is Theo facing her dad.
Mm-hmm. I have a very similar answer. Mine was facing Kira's dad.
Facing our dads.
For different reasons.
Yeah, I was going to say those moments are very intense, and that also, I remember that being a very big challenge for Mark too, just how to like be in those situations.
Yeah. What about biggest laugh? The ones that come to mind is probably the incident where I did not hear correctly and I inadvertently made Mark lose his hair.
Yep.
Oh,
wait,
God.
was it lose his hair or go blind? Or both?
Both.
No,
okay.
Yes.
Well, so first he went blind, and then I was trying to fix the blindness, but the blindness was already fixed. And so I applied the balm to his eyes, and then it was like he had icy hot on his face, and then he like was rubbing his eyes, and then he like lost all of his hair. It was a whole mistake, and it was so Anna because it was so so that probably that one.
Thanks for that.
Yeah, it was made for a great story moment. And then the other one, which is not necessarily a story moment, but it is the biggest laugh, was probably when Miah said misogynist instead of masochist.
Oh, goodness.
That one's made its way into our lexicon. Yeah, for me, I think it was when Theo took Dockers into her head and wanted to confirm whether Mark was a cop. And Dockers realized, oh shit, I didn't ask.
We have video evidence.
You blew it, Dockers.
That one gives me great joy. And anytime I break Jonny.
Anytime we can make Jonny like fall out of his chair is great.
Or walk away.
I think the one of the funnier moments with me, I think when Theo used Mark as a toboggan. Because it was just so freaking wild.
That's right. I forgot about that. She's just like, stay down. And rides me like a fucking sled.
That was a wild ride.
I'm so glad that this campaign is done.
I mean, you're the one who did it, Miah.
I think it was a mixed role. And
I was gonna say runner-up is when we were trying to make sense of a toothbrush to Catriel.
Oh, yes.
Another great early one from the podcast is Don't Go Down Dark Alleyways, and what happened with that guy behind the door when we were like walked in and he was doing something weird and we were like, don't say anything. That was also great. Oh God, such good
you put that
moments.
back in my head. Oh,
So many of our biggest laughs have been actively repressed.
yep.
Yeah.
we buried those and we just unsurfaced them.
A villain that I most wanted to defeat. I think it's either Craig Throat or Faces. Considering that we did defeat Craig Throat, I would say Faces.
Mine was probably either Cross from season 2, or the Star King, which we did.
Jonny, who did you want to defeat?
The villain I would categorize as who I most wanted to defeat was the director.
He was a
Oh,
runner-up to Cross, but I think Cross got under Kira's skin more specifically. Yeah. She went like
under
absolutely
all
feral.
of our skin.
I hate the betrayal, the stings. It hurts.
I think that was my answer to the most harrowing story moment. I think either that or what I did to Aaron Davis. I felt were like,
I thought about that.
Yeah.
That was bad.
All of that stuff with the drum was bad. And then, Aaron, I also had thought about that as a harrowing moment.
Yeah, I have yet to forgive myself for what I did to Aaron Davis.
Poor Aaron. But now he's got a cool mech body, sort of.
Yeah, he's a cool cyborg guy.
Yeah.
The Aaron stuff physically made me feel sick. So.
Yeah, our poor boy. But I will say, Jonny, every one of your villains, honestly, great job. Like, they, in their own way, I wanted to stop them all and I wanted to hate them all and love them all at the same time. I loved to hate them.
I think, and this is kind of a weird one because it went from absolutely hating to just kind of flipping the coin a little bit. And I think it was Donovan when I first started playing and stuff like that. Like,
you wanted to defeat him?
Yep. We were very neck and neck with each other. And then all of a sudden it was just like dad vibes.
It's not so dissimilar to what was going on with like the Gray Hand and Theo, and everybody was against Donovan except for Kira. So I totally get you. Totally get it.
It was like a 180 for me, I think, on it. Like passionate 180.
Yeah.
The opposite reasons to John, the villain I most wanted to redeem was Donovan and Ember, who I think I kind of redeemed them both.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, the opposite of Lauren's villain that you most wanted to defeat for me was the Star King, if that wasn't obvious.
No, you wanted to redeem him?
Not
What?
at all.
Yeah.
What about you, Jonny, for most redeemed?
Funnily enough, my villain I most wanted to redeem, Miah, was Faces. I had a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun with his face turn.
Early season 2, that was fun. Like, I remember trying to convince Casey not to actively kill him.
I don't know. Hollywood kind of had a trend of this in the mid 2000s of like, if you do evil and then you travel back in time to before you did it, did you do evil and are you therefore still evil? And like, that's what I was liking to do with Faces, that like, you hated him for this thing that he did, but then you now live in a world where he didn't do it. Do you still hate him?
Yes, I do. I do still hate him.
Yep.
Yeah.
We hold big grudges.
I think the one I was trying to redeem the most is was it Theo's dad?
Honestly, that makes sense.
I'm trying to remember back to what I felt about that situation. I think I was like, I wanted to defeat him, but I also wanted to give him another chance, like switch your narrative, and
you like did like a speech at him. Like,
oh yeah, I forgot about
I feel
that.
like Mark had like a earn this moment.
Yeah, he did. I think he even said that. He said, you earn this.
Yeah.
Like, this is kind of a second chance for you. Like, don't fuck it up.
Yeah, so I guess that would be mine, but
That's a good one. And then the last question from Thriftland is unrealized moments. So things that maybe you wanted to just see happen either with yourself or with your character or with something else. Anything unrealized that you wish we would have gotten around to or could have explored.
I just wrote too many to count. I mean,
Yeah.
the amount of variables that I tried to account for and just was like, everything that didn't happen, I had to say goodbye to.
We had to end the story at some point, right?
Yeah.
For me, the one unrealized moments I have was actually regarding Anna. I would have liked to have explored at the time, like, what was going on with, like, her body situation more, because there was, like, her eyes randomly kind of changed color slightly, but then nothing else happened with that. It would have been cool to maybe, like, have that be a thread more of, like, how do we undo this deal with the Star King? And we just didn't have the time at the end, because by the time that we really figured what was truly going on, like, it wasn't time to address it and figure it out. So I kind of wish that I would have had more opportunity to dive into that, because I feel like Kira had more, like, because she was 3 seasons worth of character, like, stories and arcs to go through. I kind of wanted a little bit more with Anna, but that's what Patreon's for.
Yeah.
Or one of the scenarios that I kept trying to bring up, but then I realized it was probably going to be bigger to implement than just a conversation. This kind of underground trading ring for, like, Ack.
Mm-hmm.
That was back in season 1 with which we never had recorded, but it was during when we first encountered him.
Yeah, it's like a supernatural, like, underground trading thing. I wanted to bust that and, like, liberate these entities or whatever from.
What was the name of that monster hunter guy? Or not monster hunter, he was a monster trader. What was his name? Do you remember?
It was a monster maker. It was like
Monroe?
Monroe, yeah.
Whoa!
Yeah.
Pull that out of my butt.
Yep. I remember what he looked like. Like,
Give me like Conan the Barbarian vibes for some reason in my head, but
he had a crazy mane of red hair, and like he had some ability to ensnare monsters and bend them to his will. And he took Ack and turned him into the red noise from Mark.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about the red noise. Yeah.
Yeah, never forget the red noise.
And then I was just going to say the other thing I was interested in is exploring more of Ashworld, because it sounded very...
That's like my dream to, like, someday, if we did, like, extra bonus content for, like, a future, like, things we didn't get to explore, it's like Ashworld is one of them. I
was like, the thing devouring the other, the individual people. I was like, oh my God, like, where are we?
Yeah, that would have been cool. And then, like, any of the stuff with, like, either Mark or Theo as king, I feel like would be really cool to explore with there. There's a lot of stuff, but yeah, same. What about you, Miah?
Casey is the director of Doors.
Just, like, wanting to see more of that.
And I have my own headcanon about how it went and what was going on, but I think it would have been kind of cool or fun to get a peek behind the curtain, get some Men in Black action.
I think my main not unrealized moment, but unrealized, like, category would probably be Emily Sutcliffe from
Emily.
I have a lot of stuff of her in my head that there just wasn't space for.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have a bonus question that kind of fits under this so we've talked to, like, some specific moments and stuff, but okay, we have 3 seasons now. Is there a favorite, like, mystery of all time that you guys have, like, of a monster, one of the monsters that we faced, favorite, like, arc that we had that it was like, that was really cool? I feel like for me, it's hard to pick one overall. I feel like I think of them a lot in, like, in each season, like, which one really sticks out to me. I think in the second season, it's probably the Exploding Boy, but also the Chicago stuff was great. Those 2 arcs, I think, were really fun. Season 3, I forget what the name of the what the name of the mystery actually was, but I think it was the one with Aaron getting taken and when Casey came back.
Face to face.
Face to face. I think that one was really fun. I mean, obviously what happens to Aaron is horrible, but it was fun having Casey come back as this, you know, when there being some friction between like Casey and Kira, and then like there's some new characters in the mix. And so like, how do we get all of them in? So that was really fun. I think for me, those are probably some of my top faves.
I think you took all of the words out of my mouth because those also were my favorite, which I feel like speaks highly to Johnny's storytelling.
The finale arcs were also great for both. It was really fun getting to have Sarah with us for the finale of season 2.
Yes.
My favorite is probably when Mark started really kind of discovering more about his past and stuff like that. Discovering he had this brother and that he felt very compelled to help his brother and also learn more about this other realm and stuff like that. And there's just a lot of like new, I'm not quite sure how to interact with the environment type of challenges and stuff like that. And I like the tactileness of that and understanding, like, you know, when he comes here, what happens to him? How do we make him exist here? Oh, he can't be here for very long. He has to go back, you know, like this push and pull, which was kind of interesting. And it was definitely a puzzle to figure out what worked for everybody.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Johnny? Can you pick from your favorite children?
I think my favorite like adventure, I think, is Sigma, the one with the elementals, and the big fight on the rooftop on the skyscraper, and also that was
pretty cool.
Fresh off, like
when Casey tried to
all the stuff with
Kira again.
Sure. Your favorite thing to do.
That's your favorite thing, Miah.
I love all the stuff with there, and it came fresh off the heels of like kind of cracking the world open. But that one, when I think of this thing as a TV show that I would want to watch, if I was going to go back and rewatch an episode, it would be that, because there was a lot of like really good set pieces and like battles and adventures and like problem solving. Yeah.
Good stuff. Moving on to the next questions. I got 2 questions here. Thanks, Thriftlin, by the way, for the questions. I think we might have a couple more from you later on. But the next question is from our listener, Sarah, not the Sarah from the podcast, a different Sarah.
The Sarah who listens to the podcast.
Question for everyone. Which NPC would you personally be best friends forever with?
I'm going to jump in before anyone steals this from me and say Lincoln Ramsey.
Mine's Lincoln Ramsey. You can't.
Yes.
That would be so hard to be friends with them. It'd be so hard.
I would probably have one of those like distant friend crushes on them where I would like maneuver myself to be in their orbit as much as possible, but I would never dream of calling them directly to hang out or anything.
I'm just cool enough. I feel privileged to know them.
It's like, oh yeah, hey, you're here again. Oh yeah, what have you been up to? Anyway, bye. Where are they going to be next?
Yeah. I also had Lincoln Ramsey.
I would probably say my bird. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh God.
What?
You are not wrong.
That makes sense.
I was going to say my cat's filling that void for me, but
I think, John, should you just get a bird?
No, because I've had friends with birds. I know how that goes. But also, sorry, I don't want to put down people with birds. I love birds. Birds are great. We have 3 cats. It wouldn't be great.
Apologize to the bird community.
It comes out at the end of the campaign that John actually hates and is against birds.
Well, we've seen throughout the campaign that you have to be sure that you fed them at all times. There's a lot of feeding of birds.
There is a lot of that. But no, I think for an NPC specifically that's human
it doesn't have to be human.
as human as they can be.
Human adjacent.
I was gonna say Theo. Theo is, I think,
NPC.
Theo's a PC.
Oh yeah, sorry, non-player character. What am I doing?
I am flattered.
Are you just trying to get points with your wife?
Yeah. But now I see it's a negative because yes, it was an NPC. Miah, you're not an NPC. I'm sorry.
Detjen-Wander confirmed wife guy.
Okay, let's see. Who else?
I know who I would suggest for you, John.
Oh, I mean, I mean, Dockers.
That's
Yeah.
what I was gonna say.
Dockers is a vibe.
He's
I
your
can get
best
behind.
Just
bro.
a chill bro who loves to hang.
I think that I would be best friends with either Lowry or Diego.
Lowry. Interesting choice.
Was it the face, John? You had like a
Both of
judging
Anna's
face.
love interests. Interesting.
Well,
And then the other question we have here from Sarah is, what was your all-time favorite failed role?
I want to go either first or last. Miah, why don't you go?
Unfortunately, my favorite all-time failed role happened in season 1 when Casey tried to save Donovan from the hallway. And I think I rolled really well, but then Jonny used points against me,
I sure
which made
did.
it a failure.
That was also on my list, but then I had a separate one in lowercase that was not on screen, but it was a separate chat that I had with Jonny about Kira's parents, and I failed a roll. And it dictated her whole backstory. I failed.
oh boy, let's see. I think I don't know if this was a result of a bad roll. When I fake tripped over the rock at the very beginning of this entire campaign.
That was, I think, the result of a failed roll.
Well, I think maybe you failed to charm me. But I
Yes,
don't
exactly.
remember.
I think like you were trying
and
to
then
pretend.
I made up something.
Yeah.
You were trying to act under pressure to pretend that you hadn't seen some kind of ghost, and you failed. And you were like, I was looking out for a rock, and they were like, there aren't a rock. And you were like,
There
but
could
there
have
could
been.
have
It could have been.
Such good charm rolls.
Y'all, that was session 1. Mark Clayton has been like this the whole time.
From the beginning.
I like how all of our failed rolls have been not on mic.
I mean, that's what we
Well-
failed the most. Was
Yeah.
season 1.
Yeah,
I have an on-mic failed roll that is my favorite, which is that quite famously, the big bad of season 2 was invented as a result of a failed act under pressure roll. That you guys were driving somewhere and someone intercepted you, and that person that intercepted you turned out to be the drum, and I made them up
Oh yeah,
because
That's
you biffed
right.
that roll.
That's right. But did I fail that one? I think I was because I would have been driving.
I think it was you because it was your car that got T-boned.
Yeah. Yes, that makes sense.
Oh, I have another one, but I will withhold.
Why on earth would you withhold this? There's nothing
I will not
left.
withhold. When I went underneath the ground and realized I couldn't breathe.
Oh yeah, that was hilarious. That one,
Oh,
and
my
then when you like
God.
decided to burn the mints for some reason, and then it like exploded in the kitchen of that restaurant.
Oh yes, I was trying to be quiet and it didn't
Yeah,
work
and then
or
you're like,
something.
let's do a distraction for some fucking reason of these mints, and then just shoots a blast of fire into the air.
Anyways, thank you, Sarah.
Yes,
Yes,
thank you.
Sarah. Okay, and then we have several questions here from Dixon. Which first one here is for Mark/Jonny, but probably mostly Mark. And I feel like we maybe have an answer for this, but after becoming the Sky King, is Mark still a 6?
I think in his head he's still a 6.
Aw.
I don't know. I mean, he had shiny armor.
I'm pretty sure we addressed the question of Mark doesn't change his appearance at all, but I do feel like there's something to be said with like having a little bit of confidence, you know?
There was definitely an element of that, and I think that deserves at least a point. So
He's at least a 7 now.
It's a
I'm
7.
at least a 7.
Okay, Jonny. Top 3 moments where your players confuse the hell out of you. And why are they all John?
When Mark got his sword and went to the laundromat to try to, I think, make a
Oh
sheath
my
out of a blanket,
God,
I think.
what awful day that was.
I just went there with you, and I was like, I don't know where this is going, but we'll see what's happening.
At some point, you have to tell me what you're doing, Mark Clayton.
Subset, anytime Mark went shopping.
Oh my God.
Like anytime you're like, I want to go to a store, and it's like, all right, I'll go there. I don't know what you're doing. I do want to like preface mid-fist this that like when I get confused by you guys, it's exhilarating because it means I don't have to know what's going to happen for the next 10 minutes. It's on y'all.
Mhm.
I think the second one would be when Lauren decided to roll on the Guardian table and kind of take the City of Blood into Kira for a while.
Oh.
I didn't know why you were doing that. And I was like, okay, we'll see where this goes. And I didn't have a third one until recently when I realized that it was when Mark tried to burn the mints.
As far as the Guardian thing, that happened during a unrecorded session with.
That's true.
Because I think what happened is when I used my life drain and I accidentally got some of it in me. Because I had used. I didn't choose. It just happened.
Okay. Well, it confused me.
Don't lay this on me. Okay. Next question. Players, what are each of your favorite moments where you stumped, confused, or even just made Jonny walk away from the camera?
When Theo asked Dockers if he's sure that Mark is not a cop.
Yep.
Still,
that's a good
by
one.
far.
I have two. The first one is my season 2 one was when I had Anna is infiltrating ears as a recruit, and then she said to the director and came up with this elaborate story and said that it was the person that Kira Ashwood had killed. The look on Jonny's face when I said that, his face froze, and it was very satisfying. And then the other one that was satisfying for a different reason was when we trapped the Star King in the oubliette, and you were trying to find all the ways that he could get out, and we're like, but no, magic can't happen in there, and you're like, fuck, and you're just we got you for a little bit, and we were so excited, and that's my other favorite one.
I'm trying to think of a moment. I know one of them, but I don't know if this is the biggest moment. When I think I blew up a car by accident.
By accident, you decided to.
That was
You blew up that car on purpose.
No, I think that was an accident. If you go look back at Exhibit A.
No, you and I quote. We even have a video of it on our Instagram. You go, can I set this car on fire?
Can I set this car on fire?
Because it wasn't also the same car that Theo threw nails at?
Yes, you guys were going crazy, and I'm trying to drive the company car, and you guys are making me get into a car chase on the freeway.
I don't remember what Jonny's reaction was to that, but I'm sure it was along the lines of him going, "What is happening?"
Okay, next question. It's over. It's complete. You all finished the game 2 years ago, but now it's been edited and released to everyone, and it's fully over. How does that make you feel? I'm your therapist.
Insane. It makes me feel crazy.
Yeah.
I feel like vertigo looking back at all this stuff that just didn't used to exist, and now it does. And then it only existed in our minds and memories, and now it's real. I feel insane.
It's definitely surreal, I feel like is the word to use, where it's it doesn't feel like it's over yet, even though the game has been over for 2 years. We've obviously have been recording some Patreon content here and there, so it feels like we've been in this weird limbo of waiting for you guys to catch up to the point of the story's done, here's how it ended, and now you guys are all here. But also at the same time, we haven't really been able to move on from our characters yet. So now it's now are we finally able to put them down? It feels weird to be at that point where it's am I actually done playing Kira and Anna? What?
I have 2 more songs written that I have yet to record.
Well, so we gotta have something, someplace.
So there's gonna be something.
It's interesting to me, we all will remember the sequence of things that happened together, but we all individually visualize something different. And so really it's something that each one of us is we've got our own story of how everything played out and what we visualize as Dockers and, what we visualize as Donovan or whatever, or that scene where the car blew up on the freeway,
the accident, as you like to call it.
Yeah. And it's just the volume of experience that we got from it and everything like that is pretty wild. If we go back and look at both the number, by the way, you guys editing, holy shit, you guys, there's so much content. But then also just those moments that, we're not in the final cut and everything like that we captured too. It to your point, Lauren, it is very surreal that, you know, we were able to generate all that just over purely imagination.
That is profound. That, like, especially like via the medium of this show, that like we will all know the things that happened and the tent poles of where they are, but we will all see them and view them and remember them differently. French accent voice, how like life.
I think there's actually a term for that when you like it's a realization of everyone else having their own volume of experiences in the world, and I can't remember what it is, but
The word is sonder.
Is it sonder? Okay.
Yeah, I think about it an alarming amount. It's a made up word, but aren't they all?
I am. This is so really bad. I'm bored. I want to get on to like the next one.
No, chill.
Yes.
John's getting philosophical
Lauren,
again. I want to be done.
Bored.
Lauren and Johnny have told me a bajillion times, just chill, and I cannot. I am biting at the bit to edit again and edit content and play games with my friends. But I think, though, kind of on like a serious note, I don't know, like I've grieved about it, I think, enough, or have done it.
Yes. There is a not small part of me that is ready to move on, like you were just saying. Like, I want to do the next thing, but it is weird to have it be done at the same time.
I forget what it's called, because like you can, like a lot of people associate grieving with like an actual death of a person, but it can also be applicable to a job, an item, or whatever. So I think it's called like shadow grieving. I'm not sure. I forget.
It is called shadow grieving.
But yeah, I think I personally am done grieving Casey. But I am still grieving Theo while I yeet our kitten.
I want to point out, and I do think that we should take a moment, because the thing that none of us said is that we're proud.
What? We're millennials. We're not proud of things.
Oh, wow.
But like, I am, and I want to make sure that you guys are too.
Yeah.
Oh,
Really proud of like this thing was so big and so interesting and so fun, and it was something that we all got to do together, and it pulled a lot from all of our different skills and mindsets and all of the things that we get to do that we know how to do. And I'm really proud of the work that we did.
Mm-hmm.
Hey guys, our
Dad's
dad
proud
is
of
proud
us.
of us.
I didn't say I'm proud of you. I said I'm proud of us.
I am proud of all of us too. I think we told a really good story and had some really great character moments. I think it's really rewarding to like, especially as we were getting towards the end, to have like the culmination of like all of those like story beats that have been kind of, you know, over the course of years that we had been building towards, and to see them finally get realized in a lot of ways was very satisfying. And like then to hear like our listeners like too being like, I'm not crying, you're crying, and like saying stuff like that, like
being involved in those same stories.
It just makes my heart feel very glad and validated. And it's like, this is a story worth telling, and I'm so glad that you guys are able to listen to it.
I want to add on to the sappiness that Johnny has now started.
The floodgates are open.
Not sorry.
I also want to thank and let you know, Johnny, that I am appreciative, which I think also Lauren and John are as well, for allowing us to experiment and be vulnerable and go down topics and stories that we could not have done without you in this medium.
Yeah, no, I'm very thankful for this game because we weren't friends before it.
That's true.
Yeah, we all hated each other.
I didn't know John or Johnny, and I only knew Miah from college, and we got together again because of this game. And like, look at us now.
Okay, but technically John and I were friends. We were dating.
Well, that's
I mean,
different.
now we're married.
I wasn't friends with you guys.
Yes.
I'm thankful. Let me be thankful, Miah.
Well, we renewed our friendship, and Johnny was some dude at John's
I was there
office.
too.
I was going to say, on an experience level, I feel like, after all of this, I feel like I've known you guys for a lot longer than I look back and I'm like, oh, I met Jonny at 2 jobs ago or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I feel like I've known him since I was 5,
Yep. I was thinking about this today, that it feels odd to realize that there was a time in my life when I didn't know you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yep. I agree.
Yep. I want to thank both Lauren and Miah for all of the editing that you guys have done. I know, I feel guilty that we haven't been more involved in the process of that, because I know you guys have been burning the midnight oil hundreds of times trying to get these, dates met and everything like that we had in our content calendar. And, the loyalty that you guys have to the podcast, the members that are in our community and stuff like that. Like it goes a long way, and yeah, appreciate you guys.
Yeah, we're pretty cool.
We are the peanut butter and jelly of the podcast.
Thank you for saying that.
Yes. And I want to also add to this with Jonny. Thank you for being the DM of this experience. We can navigate it as creatively as we can, but we, without that spark of, where we start, the challenges that we're getting into and stuff like that. And we all, collaborated on that, but you initiated it, you brought the energy to it. And I don't think it would be as good as it was without that input. So thank you.
I appreciate that. We're all very bad at accepting compliments.
We are millennials.
I'm taking out my earbuds now.
All right, next question. Okay. Everyone, what was each of yours favorite crazy plan that could have been a much faster, much more simple plan, but it sounded cool anyway? I think mine is the 4-phased approach that we had for the end of finale. We had so many plans to get the Star King dealt with. And you know what? It fucking worked, so cool. We probably could have made it much more simpler on us, but I think we were all scared for it to end, and so we made it a very needlessly complex plan that had a lot of contingencies and
a
some
thesis
safeguards.
statement.
It had a full bullet points for each phase.
Oh my goodness.
That was probably the number one for me.
Yeah, I think facing and getting to E. Garrett Goldman, aka Eggy, that battle, we could have done it more streamlined.
Mm-hmm.
Egg. Those are great. I think anything that Mark did, I think he embroidered all of his plans really hard. All of my favorites in this realm are in the realm of Mark's plans, because he was like, okay, we can do this. But because you always like stapled a bunch of shit that like from the real world of project management of like, but in order to do that, we'll have to rent a car, and then we'll do that. Like
we're putting in all the fastest without skipping any beat. Yeah. Yep. That's what I do.
Like, bro, it can just be a roll. Like, no.
I have to retrieve my sword, but first I must go to the laundromat to get a sheet.
Because I don't want people thinking outside? I'm weird.
What if people see me with a sword?
They'll think I, Mark Clayton, am weird.
I was gonna say, like, the definition of Mark's character and myself is just crazy plans. So really anything really
that
fits
could have been
bill,
simple but sounded cool anyway.
Yeah.
But made into a guy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and the beauty of this environment and this gameplay is that, these are the opportunities to do the things that you can't do in real life, and wonder what, what people would think if you walked outside with a sword. So of course I'm going to go to the laundromat and get
Absolutely.
Anyway.
All right. Next question for me. How much time did you put into making up each of Anna's spells? Which I only really did 2 that were actually like properly written, which was the Twin Flame spell and then the Storyteller spell that I did at the very end.
I feel like you put a decent amount of time.
Hours.
Yes.
I put in a lot of time. I have a whole like document where I have like all the steps written out with each of the ingredients and like what those ingredients did for the spell. Maybe if I'm feeling crazy, I'll share it in Discord. And
because you did like literal real ass research into what different herbs are said to do.
Yeah,
in
the
magic.
different magical properties of them. Like this one is meant to be like for like connection. This one is meant for like an amplifier. This is meant for whatever. So I did a lot of that, which was fun. And then I found like real live runes that like and what they meant. Because I think I found like one that was like a heritage rune, which I liked for the twin flame spell. I also wanted to do the spells differently. So the first one it was Anna's first spell. And so she kind of just what she did was she copied off of Lincoln Ramsey, sort of, as far as like his approach was like his rhythms where it's like, I see this and I do that. And she did a very similar thing. I think Jonny even mentioned it. He's like, oh, you took his rhythms. I was trying to be more intentional with that one of like kind of similar idea of what she had been taught from Lincoln Ramsey. And then with the storyteller spell, I liked the idea of it being more of like of how stories kind of were used to be told in verse. And so I did it as like a proper like rhyming type of thing, almost like you're hearing an old tale. Mm-hmm. So I liked that. That was a lot of fun. But and there's a lot of slant rhymes in there. Some, but it worked out and I liked it. I was very proud of it. And it was...
What is a slant rhyme?
So there's like, rhymes that will have like one similar sound, but not like perfectly.
Oh, okay.
Like this and shift. Like,
yeah. Like it's just like a part of it sort of rhymes, but it's not quite.
It's like a stretch that it rhymes. Yeah. Okay.
Exactly.
So that was fun to do. And it took a lot of time and I'm very proud of it. Next question for Miah. Miah, what part of editing would you say challenges you the most?
Sound effects.
Asked and answered.
Sound effects, I think, are the most challenging of the editing process.
Can you say a single sentence more about that? What is so challenging about sound effects?
Finding and sourcing them. Like, it sounds easy, but it's just sound effects. It's just hard without it sounding fake or forced or...
It's like the science of like if you've ever heard like somebody that's like trying to find the right sound effect for like a movie, and it's like if you like stabbing somebody, you don't want it to sound like necessarily like too wet or like too dry, and like there's a
cartoony.
There's a right like depending on the environment that you're in and like all that kind of stuff. Like you want it to feel. I think the term is diegetic.
That is the term.
And you want it to feel like it's natural in the environment that you're telling the story. And so sometimes you'll hear a sound effect for like, let's say lightning or something, but it's very clearly like from too far away or like something. Like it can ruin the storytelling experience. So it's a delicate balance of finding good audio effects, also not doing them too much. It's
Yeah, like the pacing and the frequency to how much you use and do.
Bonus question to that. Have you guys ever in the entire campaign made up your own sound effects?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, if you count like screaming as a sound effect.
Yeah, I was like, I think we've done like some screams maybe and maybe like crying once.
Yeah.
Kind of more like ADR adjacent.
Like no objects or anything like that? Like,
have you done any Foley work?
No.
We have not done any Foley.
Not really. I thought about like getting like the purring or meows of like our cats for Sev, but that's just too hard.
Also random off topic with regard to audio, back to the appreciation comment that was earlier. Jonny, your knack for incorporating music into this campaign has been phenomenal and has inspired a lot of this music stuff that I do and stuff just on my spare time. So thank you for that as well. Because I think there's a lot of moments throughout this that is, you've made full-fledged works.
The songs are great. I loved all of the stuff with Exploding Boy, even though his songs were terrible. And that's said in quotes because I still enjoyed them. They're supposed to be canonically bad, but I still enjoyed them.
Awful.
Canonically awful, but yet kind of a banger.
Yes.
All the songs you've made are awesome.
And then all of the stuff with Roger Sand was great. The stuff with jazz, I loved all of it. It was great. And the stuff that you haven't released.
There is still to be Games We Play Volume 2 album coming out. I have 2 more songs at least that are written and ready that I am in the process of putting down.
Exciting. All right, moving on. Next question is for John. John, you have unquestionably come up with some of the most batshit crazy ideas Did they mostly just come from your brain, or did they originate in misunderstandings?
So I appreciate this question, and I'm going to lean into this and just say, like, 1000%, a lot of it originated in misunderstandings, and I kind of embrace that, because I mean I've dealt with that in my own personal life and stuff, with just communication in general. I've always been a little bit socially awkward, if you didn't know that already. But I think that, you know, using this as an opportunity to really, like, all right, let's explore the fact that I don't understand what's going on right now.
Baby.
Like improv a little bit,
Yeah.
and just to, you know, it empowers you to have some really good moments, and it really has for Mark. I think they played out better than I would have expected had I gone into it knowing what was going on. So I'm happy with how it turned out. There are some moments.
I was gonna say, you have a lot of moments where you came up with shit out of your brain. That was crazy.
Oh God, yeah, and I mean, I think the biggest flub was like coming out of the laundromat, because there was really like, I had a plan and it went out the window, and I was like, well, I'm caught with my pants down in the middle of the street. Like,
I adore the moment when I think it was Gia was like, oh yeah, like we ship you together, and you're like, what do you mean ship? And like Theo trying to explain it, and just that going off.
That was all
and
John.
yeah, no, 1000%. And then I went off on this tangent, like after the game, trying to understand what ships were.
Oh no.
And then I asked Sarah, one of our friends, for help about, like, because I'm like,
what is shipping?
I feel like I'm falling into this category now where I'm like such a dad online. Like, I'm not up to date with things
you're
anymore.
Just chronically
and, like,
offline.
Yes, that is a symptom that I have. So anyway, yes, I think that answers the question.
Yeah, teach me.
Next question is for Johnny. Johnny, how difficult was it to keep up with the voices and personalities of the 8.6 billion NPCs that you all came up with?
It was horrible. It was horrible.
It was all a bad dream.
I was thinking about this, and I wonder if you look back whether the trend was toward me just using my own voice for everybody or away from it, because like there was a real part of it where it was like I would have a specific voice for somebody, they would disappear for a couple of mysteries, then they would come back and I'd be like, oh crap, I don't know what they sound like. Or would I have leaned into being like, you got to give this person a silly voice so that you can give them some kind of a personality, because so much of it is just like I just kind of shifted the diction or the vocabulary and kind of okay. So there is a video interview with David Bowie from the 70s that has lived on as a GIF, where they ask him, Mr. Bowie, how do you, as you go into the 1980s, how do you look back on the music of the 1970s? And he goes, sort of like this. And he just like poses and like, I look by looking like this. And like so much of me getting into some of these characters is just posture.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah,
I'm gonna be Bennett the Seventh. I'm gonna sit up real straight. I'm gonna be Skull the Painted Crow. I'm gonna hunch way over. Like it's just like you get your body into, and then you're like, okay, if I lived like this, what would I talk like?
Yeah.
But it was horrible. The twin things that I learned, the first thing that I learned was, if you want to make the players care about a character, give them a silly voice. They will want to make you do that voice all the time. But the other true thing is that you don't have to do a silly voice to give a character a unique voice. Like there is ways that Donovan would talk that Lincoln Ramsey would not talk, and vice versa. But I did not modulate my voice at all. Like I was doing the same voice and playing a different character, and it just was like, yeah, it was just shifting back and forth in between all of these personalities. And again, to echo an answer of an earlier question, it makes me feel a little insane.
I think on that note, specifically around getting into the character of your NPCs and alternatively building the environments and the scenarios that you were in and stuff, every once in a while I would notice like we would be describing something, or you would be describing something, and then you just stop. And then you'd be like, you'd lean back in your chair and be like, I love this. Like, where do you go when that happens?
John, when you say, where do you go when that happens, would you believe that's not the first time someone has asked me that question?
It's like Carl from Jimmy Neutron. Brain, or is it him that says Brain Blast or whatever?
Well, it's Jimmy, I think, that says it. But
oh, it's Jimmy. Sorry. But yeah, there have been moments like that. And I'm like, I want to know what that's about. Like, is that, I mean, especially for your characters too. Like, I feel like those are moments that like you just envisioned the next chapter.
Yes. It is when I can see it. It is when like the thing that you were describing, or the thing that like you've opened the door into something and I hadn't thought of what it would be before, but now that you're doing it and everything that's come before makes me realize, oh, I have this. Like I can.
Okay.
I know
connecting
what this
the dots
looks like, and like trying to sort of set myself in it so that I can spin around and say to you, these are the things you need to know about this thing that has just bloomed in my brain.
I was going to describe it as, you know, it almost looks as though you're like watching it on a TV and then you turn to us and be like, here's what I just watched.
It is in that way different from profile mode specifically, which is like, yes, in more often than not, the situation is that you have done something and I like watch it play out in my mind. And then I'm like, that was great. You guys got to see this.
That's a great way to describe it. Cool.
All right. Moving on. That was the last. Well, there's more Dixon questions later, but that's the last of this chunk. Thank you, Dixon. Our next question is from the cast of The Thorn Files. And the question is for everyone, which was biggest clinch rolls from the season campaign. Some of my favorite clinch rolls are the ones where it really serves the narrative of the story. And so my favorite one is when Kira rolled a 16 advanced move to restore the Sea Kingdom. That one was really great. The other one I have was Theo's ongoing rolls to trap the Star King in the oubliette, and how so nail-bitingly close so many of those were, but you managed it. We did it. I think that was like the most on edge I've ever been.
I mean, I guess I succeeded, but then I failed. But it was such a great moment. It's still like Casey trying to save Donovan from the hallway.
Would not your 18 advanced move to shoot numbers?
Oh yeah, there was that too.
And shoot them for like 12 damage or whatever it was, 16
yeah,
damage.
I guess like when I do those high rolls and like a bunch of damage, it's also really satisfying. I'm just like, oh, I just killed your monster. That sucks.
Oh yeah, sorry. You were still talking, Miah?
No, you can go. My brain is empty.
I think a low hanging fruit would be when I trap myself in the ground. That was more like sporadic though, and kind of hilarious, but also kind of bad.
In the inverse.
I think the other one though is like really dealing with your family. There was a lot of moments where I was just very tense because like I didn't want to harm these people, but I also didn't want them to get away with what they were getting away with. And it was a tightrope for sure to walk. And I think there was just a lot of moments because I didn't want to hurt the people that you loved. And also I was genuinely worried about them and terrified of a couple of them. But yeah, we just kind of rolled with the punches and yeah. Oh, and then the Star King, of course, because I didn't know what kind of hold he had on you, I think. And just what hold he had on reality as well. Because
of the way we play this game, the roles themselves just got smoothed over into just what happened. So I don't remember things that way. I was just going to say there too, like just any of the episodes where we were exploring there and having to deal with these entities that we had no idea about.
Oh, I know. There was the role where I think Mark had to hold the barrier to get out of the hallway back into there. And that almost was a bad roll, but you rolled really well. That's a fucking clinch roll. Because somebody would have been trapped there otherwise. That was like supposed to happen.
That would have been the consequence.
So that's I almost forgot about that, but that was huge.
I feel like what Jonny kind of said, like not so much clinch rolls, but like moments. Like every single time that we could have killed someone, but we befriended them, I feel like was a cool success.
Maybe the real monsters are the friends we made along the way.
Thanks again to the cast of The Thorn Files for the question. Go check out their podcast, by the way. They are also another Monster of the Week podcast, and they are friends from across the pond. So go check them out. Next question. I have a couple questions here from Ogre from our Discord server. First one here from me. What happens if Anna dies? Does she get reabsorbed into Kira? Is she just dead? Is she a ghost? So I would love to hear Jonny's thoughts on this. I had some thoughts too. So in my mind, realistically, biologically, if we were thinking about this in the real world, Anna and Kira have dissociative identity disorder. And how that essentially works is that there are many parts to an entire system that makes up this consciousness, Anna being one part, Kira being another. They're supposed to and meant to work together as one cohesive system. So I don't think that that Anna as a part was necessarily plucked out of Kira. I think what's more likely is that Kira's mind was copied and it was just sort of planted into a new body. And then Anna, her personality was just then the one fronting. And so I think if she dies, it's just that consciousness that could go back to Kira potentially and go into her. But I think she's a whole, she's just the one fronting, but she's essentially, her consciousness has been cloned and put into another body because of otherwise her mind wouldn't work.
That's interesting.
That's my thought. I want to hear yours now.
My thought is that she's become her own person.
I mean, she has her own personality, yes, but they are still part of a whole.
I think that makes sense. I think both is valid.
Yep. And then the next question, Jonny, this is kind of a long train of thought here, but Ogre had asked, are there other kingdoms in there? The 3 that we have are awesome, but it feels like maybe there could be more. And then Dixon sort of commented on it and said, from what Jonny has said, the kingdoms are sort of created to represent the ideas of advancement in mankind or the limits of their world. First the sky, then the sea, then the stars, but there are so many other, albeit smaller, frontiers of advancement out there. So I'm with Ogre. Is there a kingdom dedicated to the advancement of cooking, sports, or the just subsets inside of the big 3? And if so, what happened to the smaller dominions within the sea when it burned?
I was under the impression that it was
it's more like what people thought of afterlife specifically, right?
Yeah, which I thought was the sea and then the sky and then the stars. Because
yes,
how humankind progressed.
Yes. I had a couple of different initial ideas. So it's some combination of where people think they go when they die / the limits of human imagination. So my terse answer is there were only ever 3, but who's to say there won't be more born into the future?
That makes sense.
What is the next limit of our imagination? And maybe there's a kingdom of that.
Okay, cool. And then some other questions here from Dixon for everybody. I kind of feel like we've had similar ones to this, but what was everyone's favorite Johnny's in profile mode moment?
Whenever we have, at least maybe for Lauren and I feel like whenever we have any big question or conflict with trauma from our background or dealing with something big, our dads and whatnot.
Yeah, it is interesting where it's Jonny has to take a brain break for a moment to let me consult the archives of my brain. Turns to the left and then and
it is always the left.
But I feel like you've changed it because I feel like it started becoming a tell, and so you're just I can't do it anymore.
He tries to hide it, but we know.
They'll know.
Yeah, I feel like it's usually when we pose a question that he needs to think about and goes into profile mode, and it's it's something that connects to something that's come before usually too, and it's him connecting the dots, and that's where a lot of the profile mode stuff happens, where he turns to the left and he's but wait. No, this is perfect because of this.
But wait, there's more.
Or there's interesting.
This is unbearable to be this scene.
I was gonna say you did the move with your hands too, where you you pull your brain
God
apart,
You really
do it again, guys.
He does that every time, and we love it. It's great. Every GM has some sort of version of profile mode, and that's Jonny's.
That gives me hope.
Which do you, Lauren and John, like, air quotes, more? When Johnny's like, oh, that's perfect, or like, oh, like when it's like a good, bad, hurtful idea? Because
I think
that sounds like a
just,
question
like,
that answers itself.
I think I know what you mean. Do we like it more when he's like, oh, wait, this is great? Or when he's like, oh, no.
I hate that I thought this up. Yeah.
I think because we're all masochists here.
Oh, jeez.
I think I prefer when Johnny gets a bad idea more because it's always like, what's happening? It just gets you like instantly more invested.
It's like if he thinks that it's so horrible, like it's like at some other horrible level, like what happened to Aaron.
Next question is kind of a question for Johnny / Miah / Sarah, but she's not here.
Yeah.
How's our Queen of Shadows doing? Is she still working at doors? What's she up to? I don't think she's working at doors, right?
I can answer this question. She's doing great. She's not working at doors. She's living a quiet life with her girlfriend on a goat farm. And even though she might miss the action somewhat, she still has her friend from high school who has a monster hunting career and keeps a blog that she reads, and she remembers the action, but her girlfriend Leth reminds her that kind of thing brings out the worst in her.
Aw, we love it. Cute. I'm so glad they got a happy ending.
Yes.
All right. Miah, is Theo still playing for Yana's apartment? Anything to comment?
Yes, she is still paying for it and will forever pay for it. And his funeral when he dies, I guess.
Oh, wow. that just took a fucking turn.
That's that Nessos positivity.
Yeah. I guess since I'm going to be here forever and pay for his funeral, and I'll probably pay for everybody else's funeral too.
When they all leave me.
Just like everybody does.
I don't like this next question, and I'd be fine if we just skip it.
Oh, no, we're asking it.
I have an answer that you'll be fine with.
Who is Yano ending up with? His lady friend from before or Mark's mom? Or is Rex going to keep going for Mark's mom?
Who is Yano ending up with? I'm not telling.
Yay.
There are very clear options, and I know which one I prefer, but I'm not going to get into the position of making canonical any particular relationship.
Oh, God.
How long did you
Go
prepare
to
that?
jail.
I have a very clear image in my mind, and it delights me and brings me a lot of comfort and joy, and I won't talk about it.
Fair enough. We'll keep that ship to ourselves, and the listeners will just have to keep drawing fan art.
We'll keep that ship in a bottle.
Good one.
Thanks.
When Miah does wordplay, it is so rare, but it is so good.
All right, I'm moving on. Johnny, the players never went to see the Underking of the Stars, completely blowing off that sweet adventure hook. You mad, bro? What kind of ideas did you have that might have involved him, her, or it? How big was your imagined underworld in the Star Kingdom?
Am I mad they didn't explore it? No, I'm mad that I came up with it.
I was going to say, at that late in the game, Johnny didn't have anything planned for it.
I was so mad because I'm like, this is really interesting, but if they want to explore this, I will kill them. What kind of ideas did I have? Not many, but what ideas am I having now? How did he end up down there? Was he perhaps a fallen prince? Was he a failed kingly successor? Is this maybe how additional kingdoms of there might be birthed in the first place? Is this what happened every time that there would be? Might some of their powers, realms, or vibes have something to do with the Neo mysteries in our own world? Maybe if this is the limits of our imagination, this is the god of cyberspace or of dark matter.
Maybe it's something we can explore in a future one-shot. That'd be fun for Patreon.
Patreon face.
Yeah, let us know in the comments. Let us know in the Discord or wherever you message us. What bonus content are you guys interested in? Because we'll probably do a few more things here and there as we're getting into the new campaign for Patreon once we resume that back up, and we'll maybe have a few cover story episodes to conclude some things. So let us know what threads you're interested in, because we obviously have our own, but we want to hear from you guys too. All right, moving on. This is from our listener Salt. Question for the players. This is a fun one for us. We wound up with Kira and Tommy, Casey and Nick, Anna and Lowry, and Theo and Mark. If those partners hadn't happened or hadn't worked out, which other NPC or PC could you see your character with? Or what would their best single or poly life look like?
I would have a menagerie with a bunch of birds.
Or just your neighbor, Larissa.
Yeah, you could be with Larissa.
Larissa Menagerie. I love the idea of Mark becoming a YouTube pet influencer.
Yes.
Hey guys, Mark Clayton over
Drops his camera. I could get behind that, yeah. Mark would be a pet influencer, I think, and just enjoying his lavish house that has no furniture.
Men will literally have a house like this.
I'm going to answer regarding Casey after you, Lauren.
Why?
Because I need to hear your answer first. Theo, my original headcanon was that Theo had, and I think if you go back and listen to the episode, Theo had like a huge crush on Aaron Davis. Mm-hmm. So if there was still any shot, probably Aaron Davis.
Okay.
Anna's alternate is Diego. If I think there's another world where if things didn't pan out with Lowry, or maybe they don't, maybe in the future, I think there is a world where Anna and Diego both do their own kind of individual growing and come back together in a few years and they're more mature and they could have a really nice relationship.
Love it.
Or, she could just be poly with Diego and Lowry.
I really liked Anna and Diego together.
Yeah, they're very cute.
They were a lot of fun.
I liked both of them for very different reasons for their chemistry
for what they brought out in her.
Yeah, for their chemistry with Anna for different reasons was both great. So that was great for her. And I'm sorry, but Kira, I don't see anybody else.
Yeah, it was like
it's Tommy. It's always been Tommy.
the moment he showed up.
Yeah. And I'm sorry that's a cop-out answer, but I don't think so. I don't.
I mean, it is true that like if Kira was to sit down and make up a boyfriend, it would be Tommy Sparks.
Tommy is like exactly the kind of thing that Kira needs. She needs somebody like secure and like loyal and like just that like a rock like to be, because her life has been just such like tumultuous and like never safe and always like people trying to hurt her. So she just needs that, and like that is Tommy. And so like he was everything that she needed. So
yeah, someone who still straddles this world between being normal and being a monster. Like
Yep. Miah.
If it wasn't Nick, I think that she could have some sort of relationship with either Gia or kind of a dream relationship would be kind of cool. Would be maybe Emily.
Mm.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, since Kira and Tommy are the OG, I don't think Casey can butt in there.
It happened once, then it wasn't meant to be.
Yeah.
And there's probably no reconciling with Tessa.
Nope. Although I guess like remembering that would be a cool like story thread to like follow, because I have headcanon stuff of it, but it never unfolded on screen necessarily. The next question I see on this list is for Jonny.
From Nangram.
Yeah, and thank you, Salt, for that question. We appreciate it. Jonny, are there any encounters or concepts that you would have liked to have covered that were shelved in favor of a different plot point?
I think that there was a lot with Rex's generals that we did do a good amount of stuff with them, but there was more that I could have come up with that I thought I was interested in. I think Cross's captives and where they came from and what, if anything, they had in common was something that might have been interesting to see if that led somewhere. They just sort of became Dawnbreak, which was great, and then you just had this team. I think that like, I don't know, I think I was initially interested and then got distracted by like where they came from and what their deal was. But then I mentioned this earlier, I sure would have liked to get more into Emily's whole deal, but I really felt like the Ears and Eyes stuff, once season 3 started, all really belonged in the past, and it would have gotten messy.
All right. Ogre has more questions. Jonny, another one for you. Now that the campaign is over, are you going to release a downloadable MP3 of the full theme song?
I have wonderful news. I already did. The theme song specifically, and then many other songs from this campaign and a related one are available on Bandcamp and Spotify, and I think most other things. I use DistroKid, which puts it on everything. So I'm on YouTube Music and a bunch of other ones that I've never heard of before. So if you have a thing that you listen to music on online, you can do that. Otherwise, there is one of the tiers of our Patreon that will let you download all of our music. So yes, the answer is yes. I will and have, and it's great.
Mm-hmm.
And if you just want to listen to the music, we do have a Monsters Playbook Spotify.
There you go. Next question for Miah and John. Mark is now the king of the sky. Theo is king of the stars. If they had to choose successors, who would they choose? I love this question.
I feel like it's easy for John and then difficult for me, but I'm biased.
Wow. Way to just
Okay,
assume
who are you
there.
going to choose?
My brother.
Yeah.
What if I gave Donovan that task? That'd be so weird.
I love how you go from brother to Donovan. You're like an older brother, right?
I feel like in the course of this evening's conversation, you've been like, you know who I hate? Donovan, too. I bet Donovan could take over from me when I die.
Big villain to friend energy.
I'm telling you, complete 180.
You always had such interesting interactions with Donovan.
Yeah, I found a special charm with him.
I think I was thinking about this question earlier today, and I was really struggling with it because I wouldn't want to give it to any of the other Nessos, and she wouldn't want to burden Yano with it, with the responsibility of being the Star King. Would not give it back to this old Star King.
What about your new prince?
I thought about it, but I don't know. He's kind of... I don't want to say he's a figment of my imagination, but he's a figment of my imagination. But I think I had an epiphany while sitting here. Because I think I would try to choose someone who's very similar to Theo. And I kind of think that might be Aaron Davis.
Wow.
I was going to say.
Cute.
Yeah, he would be really good. This is kind of unrelated, but since we're talking about the kings, now that the old Star King is not the Star King, what would his name be?
Gray Hand.
What would they call him?
They would call him the Gray Hand.
That's his name. His title was always a Star King.
And I think that as for what his title is and what it would be following his fall would be the provenance of the new Star King. That would be up to Theo what everyone calls him.
Mm-hmm.
I think there was a question maybe a while back, or maybe it was people in theory crafting about Kira potentially being a king of the sea. It was something I thought about, but I didn't want to step on any toes as far as Miah and John were already kings of there. And yes, I felt definitely a connection to the Sea Kingdom because Kira had sort of destroyed it in another life. But I kind of felt that was your guys's thing. And so I wanted it to be for you. And I also didn't want that for Kira. I wanted her to just, as much as she was kind of was saying that she didn't want to be a normal girl, I think back in season 2, I kind of found it in a nice way of no, I am going to have a normal life kind of by the end of things. And I'm just going to do my best and just keep on fighting a good fight with hunting monsters and stuff. So
I genuinely love that for her.
Yeah, she deserves it.
Yes.
We all do.
Her and Tommy. Jonny, along with the other kingdoms of their questions that we have been answering this episode, are there other modes through there aside from the charming coachman? Is there an uncharming coachman or a sinister subway? I like sinister subway. Or a terrifying tuk-tuk, an unrivaled Uber, a lofty lift. That was I came up with that last one.
Well, First of all, shame on you. Both you and Ogre for the suggestion. The truth is, the Charming Coachman is unique. I think we sort of touched on it. It was charming to me that it was very, what's the word? It was kind of hidden, like Dark Souls style, like what happened to him and where he came from was not necessarily overt. His allegiance to there was to the entire place, and it was accidental, and it was done clumsily by someone who didn't know what they were doing. So he's not a piece of there. He was stapled to it. As far as are there other means of conveyance, I definitely think that there are. I don't know what they are. I'm happy to see what you might think they might be.
We had one brief thing in, I think, one of our Patreon episodes where we went to the Sky Kingdom. There was like those horses, or like flying horses or something. I forget what we called them, but there was some flying horses that we got to cross Larissa? From like one side of the other. No, it wasn't Larissa. It would have been big deals. Yeah, it was to get to the one side of from a floating cloud island to the other, and we got on some flying horses, and Anna was very excited about it.
Yeah, and I think Theo was not.
Yeah, you were terrified. Yeah.
Yes.
Proud horse girl.
Weird question, Jonny. Is it possible to undo or free the charming coachman from there as the King of the Stars?
Not alone.
So I'd have to get the other two to go in on it.
His allegiance is not to any of the kingdoms. It's to there as a space.
Well, and also there is not currently any Great King either anymore. You guys decided to get rid of that. So
yeah,
it would have to be a unanimous thing.
Yeah, I think Theo just has always had a soft spot for him.
I think she's not alone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Ogre.
All right. Dixon, more questions.
Yes. Lauren, which, if any, of Kira's other alters might want their own body?
I mean, she's got several.
Are there any alters that you would want to give, like, their own body to?
I mean, the only one that I think I would, like, in their own way, I think that, like, everybody would be great. But, like, the only ones that I would think would be really nice and, like, cool to do would be there was an alter that we've never seen. Her name is Stevie, and she is a little girl, and she is, in my mind, she's always been the alter of like childhood Kira never had to have. So she's just a happy little girl, but she's living inside Kira's mind, and it would be lovely to give her a body of her own so she could have like a full, realized childhood. So that's the only one I think that like would be kind of cool. The other ones, I'm sure McCleary would love to have his own body. And be a horrible shit to most people. And then maybe like Volca would. I think she'd be cool. She'd probably want a little wolf body. But otherwise, I think everybody else is content. Their function is mostly to stay inside of Kira's mind, and like I think they, in actual dissociative identity disorder, they're called internal helpers, and that's kind of the function that they serve. And so that's what Ruth is there for. She's literally there to be the little mother inside of Kira's head and taking care of all the other alters. So I think that would be my answer.
If our listeners are curious to see what these alters might look like, at least a little bit of our headcanon, our listener and also fellow podcaster Faye did an amazing depiction of Kira and her alters.
Yes, I love it. Good. Thank you so much, Faye. It's so cool. I think from the beginning I have wanted art of Kira and all of her alters, and you made it possible, so thank you.
Jonny, what's going to happen to the woods painting now that it is fulfilled? Now that it has fulfilled its purpose from the Star King?
So that was not its purpose. That was a hijacking. That was something that the Star King planted within the woods, which is its own whole thing. The woods are an aspect of the place where Ramsay Lincoln came from and where they live to this day. Mm-hmm. So what happens now is the woods are well tended to from without and from within.
Mm-hmm. And eventually I think they said that they would have to go back there. That's what they said in the finale to Anna, and like giving the apprenticeship to Anna to eventually run the shop. They'd have to go back, and I don't want them to.
Does that mean that Anna would eventually go to the woods too? Like passing it on from...
I'm just like a person now.
No, it's just, yeah.
Okay. That's just where they're from. I don't think we know the details of why they have to go back, but for some reason the magic of that place is calling them back.
Yeah.
going back to the Charming Coachman, we have another question about him. The Charming Coachman grew notably stronger once there were 3 kingdoms once again. What other consequences or successes might have been re-established of the Trinity? Yeah.
What other consequences of the reestablishment of the Trinity are there that we don't know about?
Words are hard.
Are you trying to think of like, is there a positive word for consequence?
Yeah, the opposite. Like, why does it have to be consequences? Like, what if, I mean...
You can have positive consequences.
Positive.
You just never do.
Yeah.
To be perfectly honest, I never expected there to be 3 kingdoms again. In my initial plan was to force the team into a Guardians of the Galaxy style take my hand moment where more than one of you would have to take it on at the same time to share it between you. So this was all white by accident. So as far as the consequences and reestablishment of the Trinity, I am as interested and excited to learn as you are. I don't know, because canonically, for most of the life of all of the player characters, there has not been 3. So has that had consequences on this side of the veil and the other? Maybe. Is that why everything seems to suck so bad all the time? I don't know. I do think there would be also, especially because now there is no great king, maybe what might these worlds get up to if they had something to do other than being at war with each other all the time?
Have a bake-off.
Perfect.
Lovely. It's going to go so
Cat
bad.
Trail would be so excited.
Yeah.
She's like, we're going to bake off. I don't know what we're baking.
That sounds amazing. What is baking?
Yeah, exactly.
And what are we
Stalkers.
baking off of?
What are we baking off?
Dockers. Well, I know something about
I'll
baking.
you
want to
off.
get baked?
Yeah.
I'll bake you off right now.
Okay.
I'm John, and I'm going to put this on my show.
Yeah. Miah and Jonny, there's a question for you. Now that the Maggio are losing their unique power, do you think someone else will try to take over, or will they fight to keep their position?
I feel like you can disagree, Jonny. This is a similar answer as the previous one about the Charming Coachman and other consequences that might have action. I don't know. I think it's pretty much in complete disarray. I mean, the magic, I think, is just slowly disappearing over time. So it's kind of like the whole organization will have to reorganize and figure out what to do.
I think this is like a pretty good pitch for a TV show all on its own. A huge power vacuum that maybe everybody doesn't even know about. So would there be people who would try to do something new to fill it in? Would there be people who would try to say, no, it's still there, because not everyone could know for sure? This is knotted up and interesting, and I don't know the answers. It would be fun to find them out.
This feels like our Angel spinoff to Buffy.
Exactly.
Buffy and Angel.
Exactly.
Yeah. And this would all just be titled Maggio.
Title card sequence.
Yep.
All right, everyone. Do you think that everyone would try to make an annual tradition of getting together for a big meal party?
All right, everyone together. Yes.
Yes. I just wrote yes in all caps.
I think it's important to have traditions, and I think especially with monster hunting families like ours, I think they would need to have some sort of scheduled thing, especially with Casey Davis and her work ethic.
Well, also Casey Davis and her hosting and cooking. I feel like it would definitely it would switch locations. Like it was Mama Clayton's house the first time, maybe Casey's the next. Maybe we visit there and have a whole thing there. That would be fun.
What about Mark's house? He has no stuff in his house. He's got plenty of room for everything.
Furniture
that wasn't a solid period.
You've been
That's
on like
it.
3
That's
episodes.
just
Okay, all right.
It's like if you still don't have furniture, you've gone on so many shopping trips at this point.
Who knows? Maybe there's weddings. Maybe there's weddings to have.
There are weddings to have, at least one. Okay.
Thanks, Dixon.
Thank you, Dixon. We have more questions from Ogre, and these are all for Jonny.
These can be very rapid fire.
Yes. To enter our world, do Thugabot and the Princeling need bodies like Anna and Lowry, or can they just pass back and forth since they're royalty?
I think that it's been established that properly physically appearing on our side of things is not possible, but unique to royalty is the ability to project. I think that that's been true, that it's been exclusive to kings and princes to communicate side to side, but they have not been able to materialize on our plane.
Where did the power for Yuna's bat come from? Does the bat contain an actual dragon? Thank you for asking this question.
I am so glad that someone else was curious about this. Yuna is my favorite kind of side character, which is to say that she is someone with an extremely clear deal that is still totally mysterious and never properly explained. The vibe I wanted to give on Yuna was that she's kind of like guest starring here from her own comic book series. And there would be like an editor's note every time she used her bat explaining you can find out what's happening in Yuna issue 39 on sale now.
Love it.
Yep.
But yes, I never answered the question of what her bat's deal was because I never had to, but I do think that it contains or it channels the power of, or it secretly is a dragon. But my idea for it was that it was like capital I, capital F, irresistible force, like that dude's glove in the new Twin Peaks.
Love it. Is Edgar still the best boy? Answer, yes.
Yes. The answer is yes.
Is the Queen Concealed more or less powerful than the Kings of There?
It's apples and oranges. The Queen Concealed was from a different sort of pantheon of all this side of things. So she would sort of contain and embody all of the aspects of her realm that she is and controls. But yeah, it's different.
Oh, that's so cool. I guess I never thought of it like that they really are like the pantheon of Earth. And then
yeah, they're here. Yeah.
Yeah. And then there is those other kings. That's so cool. Does Yano have any actual powers, or is he just awesome?
He's just awesome. He knows a lot about weird stuff, but he doesn't know how to do much of it himself. Like even Nick eventually becomes kind of a novice mage himself, but Yano is just a tough guy who likes to fix things.
Yep. He fixes
He's
things.
just nice and good at cooking.
This might have been asked before. Does Lincoln Ramsey have any control over which version of themselves appears? I think they did it once, but I wasn't sure if it was an always or even common thing.
So it was never really addressed or explained, but I think, yes, they do. So again, in my like junk drawer of my mind, there's a really good sequence in the cartoon show Young Justice where Miss Martian, who is a shapeshifter, explains that she has like a different idea of what the physical form means, because like on Mars, changing your shape just is like changing clothes. And I think for Lincoln, my vision of them was that it was just like changing posture. Like when I stand like this, people see me one way. And when I stand like this, people see me another way. I'm the same person in both poses, but it's you who sees me differently. So like, yes, I think they have control over it. I think they've gotten control over it. I think there's a very interesting short story in my brain somewhere about it being confusing for them when they first arrived.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. I just love them so much.
I love them so much too.
They're great.
Can I ask the next question?
Yes, please.
Does Sev Dominos have any other abilities aside from telling when people are lying?
I sense that someone else wants to answer this question.
Yeah, I do. You can deny if I'm wrong. The other ability that Sev Dominos has is that he's a great cuddler.
Yes. In concert with Miah's comment, and also because I've been re-listening to Six of Crows, that I think that he has some sort of Heartrender adjacent abilities that like he would literally be able to physically make you calm down and chill if you needed him to.
Oh, that's
so the
cute.
lay on hands move, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Pretty much. Can
Cute.
control your
Soothe.
heart rate to make it
Soothe,
come down
yes.
so you're not freaking out and panicking.
We will
Yes.
never get that move right.
Thank you to everybody else who has submitted questions. We have a couple cast questions that we're gonna end off with, and then we'll kind of wrap up, I think, with what's next for us. But Miah, why don't you kick us off with some cast questions for each other?
Yeah, because like Jonny said, that he's proud of us, and I'm proud of us. I was thinking back on specifically like John and Lauren's, your characters, and what it's been like to like play with them, and like what I would like more of. I'm curious. We did talk about Anna. About is there a thread that you would have liked to explore more? And you said like what was going on with her body. And with Kira, we delved into a lot of different topics like neglect, DID, and a whole lot more. What challenges or conflicts do you hope to explore next in the next campaign?
I mean, you'll have to tune in, but I mean, I don't know how much I want to talk about it. I think the consistent thing with the characters that we play in these games is that we try to bring even though these are fantastical, settings and things like that, we want to bring very real issues to the games that we play. And so like, yes, while there might be magic and all these fantastic things, I want the characters to still feel very grounded and rooted in real issues. So, I mean, some things that are on my mind are dealing with grief, and how to like move past that and heal from it. I think revenge is another one that is on my mind. And
I like those.
A little bit on some of the injustices, I think, too. And I think, that's kind of where my mind goes.
Cool. Great teasers. What has been your greatest achievement playing the Ashwood sisters in the cover story?
For Kira, I think it was learning to love and appreciate all parts of herself, and that's most vocal with Ember, and getting Ember to turn away from the kind of fiery end of the world demon that she was into an ally that ultimately helps rebuild the Sea Kingdom. I think that is probably for Kira. And then for Anna, I don't know. I'm just so proud of Anna. Her story is on so much of a smaller scale, I feel like, but like she's really coming into her own. I feel like, especially in season 3, she really comes into her own with like really kind of starting this journey of apprenticeship with Lincoln Ramsey and like learning what that means and taking it seriously finally. And just like learning that it's okay, like if you stumble and if you fall, but like it's the journey will get you there eventually to where you need to go, and like eventually you won't realize how far you kind of come, type of thing. Like she's come a long way, and even though she might not realize it, like I am very proud of her for all of the progress that she's made.
Okay, couple questions for you, John. What do you think is Mark's first or possibly second order of business as the Sky King?
Get crowns for all of the royal birds. No, well, I think he would take some time to understand the knowledge that Ro had and like kind of solidify himself with just knowledge around like what the priorities were and stuff like that first, to understand kind of the positioning. I know things have been kind of turned on its head, but also like just knowing the history there and stuff. And then taking that opportunity to maybe, I mean, now knowing what we know based, Jonny, what you were saying about this environment being a kind of a world of, limitless expression and thinking and stuff like that. Like how far can the mind go? Just trying to create a less hostile environment, I think, by maybe connecting with the other kingdoms and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And I think that kind of ties into I think it's the next thing. What's the best character trait? I feel like is just trying to bring positivity to the room, I guess. Mark gets himself into a lot of shit, but that doesn't mean he's a bad person. And like, that's kind of his MO, I think.
What do you think is your greatest achievement playing Mark Clayton in the cover story?
Somehow holding a job at the Daily Tuba.
Well, now your brother has
it.
Yeah. Oh man, biggest achievement. Well, I definitely don't think that his biggest achievement is becoming the king. Mm-hmm. I think that's it's a symptom of something that I think that he it just naturally happened. And it's like a job in real life too. You know, you do the things that you love until the point where you reach, you know, I mean, just in my design career, I'm working for an agency now and stuff like that, doing stuff I never thought I would be doing. And it's all because I just believed in myself, and then, you know, you keep doing what you're doing and stuff. And I think this is kind of a symptom of that. It's like, I'm trying to help people at every corner and stuff like that. And I'm finding out different things. And then suddenly I'm being given these opportunities and stuff and saying yes to them and trying to do things in a way that's right, I think has kind of led myself to this. So I think my biggest achievement is maybe probably believing in myself up until this point, you know.
Oh, I love that. I also feel
Thanks,
like
John.
I just want to heap on praise for Mark Clayton as a character, that I feel like Mark was always so like singularly committed to like, just like, I'm going to help you, or like, I'm going to do this thing for you. And it's like never about like him. It's like always about somebody else. And like just that selflessness to Mark. I love that. That's probably my favorite trait of Mark, was just the like, I'm going to do this because it's right and because like you deserve it type of thing. Like, I think it was really vocal with Lowry, and like, I'm going to get you, like, I'm going to bring you here, brother. Like, you deserve that kind of thing. Yeah. I feel like that was great to see. I love Mark.
Well, thank you. We're all bad at taking compliments.
The episode title.
I want to heap on this real quick and say that, like,
shit,
because there's a version of that could just be Mark being like, "What do you want to do? Okay, I want to do it too." But there was a bunch of times throughout stuff where somebody would want to do something and Mark would be like, "Cool, I want to help you," and then that person would hit some kind of obstacle. And Mark would be like, "Okay, well, what are you actually doing and why do you want to do it?" Like, I feel like you did this a lot with Theo, where you were like kind of interrogating the goal and being like, what are you actually after? Because I want you to get what you actually want and not just the stated goal for this thing. And like,
right.
That was
not the immediate goal, but like the goal, you know, the
chaos goal, like that. Yeah. That's the kind of chaos that I've come to count on Mark Clayton.
That's fair.
Yeah. I have a couple questions for you, Jonny.
I expected you might.
So, as our listeners know, we began the cover story off mic fighting ghosts. And then you introduced us to the infinite hallway and a variety of men wanting power and endless life. But finally, you gave us there a plane of existence where spirits go and explore the idea of afterlife, present, past, and future. You're known for taking inspiration from a multitude of content like comics, shows, games, etc. You have many recommendations, so if anyone needs any, hit Jonny up.
Digest.
Where and when did all of these ideas fall into place for you? I'm specifically like high level, like the big bads of like each season. So like the Four Kings, the Men of Industry or whatever, the Infant Hallway, the Drum, Eggy, there and its Kings. Where did it come from?
That's a big, tough question, because especially the big ones were like the distillation, I think, of everything that we had been talking about for a year. I can tell you that the Infinite Hallway, as you just figured out, was wholesale stolen from Castlevania.
Yeah.
There is a thing that I think is literally called the Infinite Corridor that I was just like, I'm just going to do that.
And just change a word.
Yeah, I changed a word and I made it different and I turned it into my own thing.
Art.
Exactly. But then I stapled it to, you know, this like idea of that I've always been sort of fascinated by, the sort of Lovecraft adjacent 1920s fascination with seances and the beyond, and like my ongoing discomfort with, you know, robber barons and capitalist kings and people who are like accumulating power in this world and just deciding that they get absolute power to do whatever. So that also like informed all of that. But then when we got into doing the game properly, I would say by season 2, I became really inspired by, I would say specifically Monster Hour, I think was the big inspiration, where I was like, what your big bad is a difference of philosophy. And like what you're fighting against is not just a big monster that you have to kill, but you are fighting against someone who's trying to tell you that the world is a certain way. And you have to stand up and say, no, that's not how the world is. The world is this. And you have to fight for your conception of what the world is and what it's supposed to be. And that's what I really tried to do with the director and the drum and his perspective on what monsters are. And that's what I tried to do with the Star King and his perspective on what a story is for. Like, you think the world is this, I think it's this, and that's what we're fighting against. So that's what I tried to do.
Well, you did it very well. Let me know if you don't want to answer this next question.
I'm happy to answer this next question.
Okay. Because rereading them, I'm like, oh, these might be kind of vulnerable. What were you most afraid of? Like, starting and continuing this game?
I'm always most afraid that I won't be interesting. I'm always most afraid that I won't be able to come up with something that's good or fun to play or interesting to listen to. But as far as like in universe, the things that scared me the most were like Tower and honestly all of like Rex's generals, like all of the actual stuff.
The actual human horrors. Yeah.
Yes. All of the things that are like, oh, there's a guy like that. Like there's a guy like that who lives in this world. And I'm just making him a villain here so that you can beat him and I can feel better. But like that guy is still there. So all the stuff that I was most afraid of was the stuff that I'm like actually afraid of in my life, which is powerful people who don't care about other people.
Yeah.
Valid and relatable. Would you answer what NPC do you think you are most like? What NPC you think you're the least like? And who do you wish you were more like?
Who do I think that I am most like? I think, honestly, Aaron Davis. Like, I think that I am a big dork who gets excited about stuff and forgets to look at something else. Who am I most not like? I mean, is it a cop-out to say the like Sky King? Like fucking I'm most not like an otherworldly entity who barely exists and can't pay attention to the Earth. Which NPC do I wish I was more like? I think who I wish I was more like, I guess Jesse Davis. Like there's a certainty to him that I always really liked, and a strength. Yeah.
He's a stand-up guy. You're also a stand-up guy, Jonny.
Yeah.
Heck.
We might have touched on this, and if we have, just skip it. But is there a thread, NPC or mystery, that let you down or failed in a spectacular way?
What fucking failed?
What a rude question. I think if anything, I mean, this category of thing is all like just stuff that I think I let you guys down. Like, I think I could have made the deal with Cross's team or Cross's captives more intriguing that you would go check it out. I could have made things...
Preston Lariat.
I could have made Preston Lariat more of an interesting thing that you guys would want to look into. There's not mysteries that let me down. There's things that I maybe wanted to set up that failed on you guys. That's on me.
I don't think there is anything that's failed for us. I think everything was great.
It's just unexplored opportunities.
Exactly. There's stuff there that was like unexplored, and like I jokingly said Preston Lariat because like that was so clearly like a thread that you dangled in front of us that we just didn't even engage with. We're like, this is a drunk guy in a bar. I'm not gonna talk to him. But he's a monster hunter. Yeah, Theo's brother's about to die. Sorry.
We're all monster hunters.
Cool story.
And then he just kept bringing him back.
I feel like the almost answer to this question should or is like the failure of a threat or whatever is the success of a keeper or GM, because if you kept trying to go down it, it'd be like railroading it.
Yeah.
So by like leaving it is a success in its own.
Yeah, I guess that kind of brings up a good question for me of like, what was the most like off script we ever got? If not that there is necessarily a script, but like just a direction that you didn't see us going for like a mystery that you were like, whoa, like that was not where I thought this was going to end up.
I mean, I think the thing that comes to mind immediately was when you went to the Brothers Vitalis. I didn't think you would make a crown.
Mm-hmm.
I expected you to make a weapon. That was a big departure from what I thought you were going to do in a very inspiring way. I thought I planned for you to make a weapon. I thought you would make a weapon. I was ready for you to make a weapon, and you didn't.
It was genuinely more interesting to not make a weapon because you know what the weapon is going to do after you make it, but a crown?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Mm-hmm.
Johnny's going to turn it into
Well, and we also had to make something small, and we didn't want it to be a weapon, so I was like, what would make sense? I'm like, how about a crown? And your face, when I said that, your face was just like, yes.
It was I remember the feeling of that. It felt really, it was warm. Like, it was like, I thought you were going to be killers and you're not. I'm so delighted. It was very charming.
We're good guys.
Yes. Sorry, that spawned a different question in my head. Could there have been I'm guessing the answer is yes, but could there have been other Maggio families that we could have like met or gone to?
That's a hysterical question. Yeah, obviously, totally. There was a. This
I was
is
thinking like we could have interacted with like these other, because I have my headcanon, but meh.
This is like a touchstone now of our like talking about doing games now, where like Miah introduced Theo and was like, "Oh, I want to be a part of this, magical crime family called this." I was like, "It's going to be called the Maggio," and then she immediately was like, what's like the structure? Who are all the families? Like, who are they all? Cut to mere months later, and Miah starts running her own game where she has her own like degree of backstory to deal with, and she was like, "Oh, I get it now.
Mm-hmm.
You just didn't know." Like,
you don't know until it matters, usually.
like, yeah, there's certain things that you will plan ahead for because they will matter, and then there are certain things that don't matter until they matter. So if that had been something that was interesting to you guys, I would have built the shit out of it and it would have been great. But
yeah. You tried really hard to keep us away from the Maggio for a long time, though, Theo. Like, to your own.
Yeah, that's true. I thought you were talking to Johnny.
No,
that wasn't me.
No, that was you.
Yeah.
Like, we were
you.
interested, but you specifically kept us away from your family so hard. Like, we could have interacted with them for so much earlier, and you were just like,
and
no.
It was dope.
Yeah,
like, that
it was great. It was totally
so
made
much sense for your character.
Exactly.
And you were like, do not talk to them. You do not want to get involved with these people.
And it's like, let us do it. You're like, no. And so we didn't talk to them like for most of season 2.
It was great. It was great. It was friggin' dope.
Yeah.
My final question. What do you think your greatest achievement has been creating this alternate world of the cover story, Johnny?
I think the only thing that I can say is that my greatest achievement in creating this alternate world is that you care about it.
No.
Like, there are individual fictional parts of it that I think I find very original, or at least that I have taken an original take on. But the only answer that I can give you is that the thing that brings me the most pride about what I did was that you guys would message me on off days and be like, what do you think is going on with this guy? Like, the best thing I ever did was make a world that you guys care about.
Oh, I'm going to cry.
Too late.
I love it.
Fuck. All right, I mean, you have to ask Miah some questions now because she asked us a bunch.
You don't have to. It's totally fine. You don't have to.
How do you feel things end, like with where things left with Theo? Because I feel like her ending kind of felt very intentionally like, I'm not okay. Things aren't okay. Like, what do you hope for Theo in the future?
Is I don't know an acceptable answer?
I mean, that's on
because
par
I know
with most of Theo.
It is our catchphrase. Casey, I know a lot of. Casey, I'm pretty content with, and I know. Theo, I don't know yet, although I played her for 2 seasons. I feel like this is weird. I feel like she's half baked. Her character's halfway there. She still has a lot of growing as an adult.
A burnt cinnamon roll.
Yes, she is still a rising dough. I think ultimately, like, what I hope for Theo is that she will grow some confidence and let people in, but I think let people in a different kind of way than Casey needed to let people in. and Theo just needs to grow and mature.
Well, I want to ask you the question that you asked all of us.
Aw.
What do you think is your greatest achievement in playing Casey Davis and your greatest achievement in playing Theo Nessos?
I feel like so my greatest achievement with Casey is exploring lots of different topics. Topics that I hadn't expected or thought that I would explore. Exploring her, I guess, sexuality, dealing with like her depression. I don't know. I guess I'm just really, really proud of Casey and who she became, what she did, what she's going to do, what she's been doing. Theo, not just killing off the Star King. Ever since I started her, I was like, I want to build a character that doesn't kill anything. Well, that's really hard. You gotta blur the lines a little bit. But as frustrating as it might have been being my co-players, I am really proud that she didn't kill the Star King and kind of stuck to her guns.
It's hard to do that as a player when the rest of the other characters are not really in alignment with that.
Yeah,
so I've been there.
It was also very, very tough being like a player and just trying to like stick to it, and me being like a people pleaser and stuff, and not just caving and being like, fine, like whatever. I want you guys to be happy if that means me being unhappy.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so those are the last of our questions for each other. So the only thing left to answer that I'm sure all of you guys are wondering about is questions about what is coming next. So Thriftlin had one final question about kind of where is the new series going to take place? Is it going to be in the same version of Earth? So I think that kind of just opens it up to a good broader question, Jonny, about what's next for the new campaign.
So I'm very glad about this question. I'm very glad about the form that this question took. Is the new series going to take place in the same version of Earth? And no. Like, in the cover story, I established a lot of like physical rules of how the physics of magic kind of worked. And I want to kiss all of that goodbye. It's all gone. None of it is true. There will be no things that you will need to know from before about anything that will happen next. Everything is going to be from the ground up in the way of a new Monster of the Week campaign. We will figure a lot of things out as we go. There is a new sort of underlying something that I'm not going to tell any of you about, but there will be, if I have my way, there will be no cameos from characters from the previous campaign. There will be no crossover business unless we start to get ambitious. There will be no things that you need to know from before to start into this one.
A fresh campaign.
A totally new Earth. A totally new city, totally new Earth.
Okay, great. And as far as, I'm trying to think what else we want to say about the new campaign. Do you want to like tease, like add anything about it at all, or just leave that for session 0?
Do you want to name the name of it?
I'll tease a little bit about it. I'm happy that you asked that as well.
Why don't you give
as
them
far
a little
as
tease?
what's next for the next campaign is, we have a name for it. It will be called Channels. And I want to give as few details as possible because there will be quite a lot of information coming. We will have some session 0 business. We will probably have a trailer because we love to do those. There will be a lot of vibes to come into the future. But for now, the most important thing to mention is that our cast will be changing. So Miah and Lauren and I will be remaining. John will be stepping back from being a cast member. He is still involved in the podcast, still very much a part of the team, but he will be replaced. I feel like this is the kind of thing that happened in 60s sitcoms a lot, where someone would come in and be like, oh, hi, I'm that person's cousin. But for real, John's cousin is going to come in and join our cast.
He's got a lot of the same energy, and I think he will fill the role for what it needs to be. Yeah.
We've played a few sessions so far. The vibes are good. So you will all get to meet Drew along with us, and we will let's turn it over to him real quick just right now. Drew, why don't you say hi?
Hey everybody, my name is Drew, and yes, I am John's cousin, and yes, we are very similar. I'm excited to join this podcast and have some fun.
Yes.
And the other thing to note too, like, yes, John is taking a step back, but it's very possible that like he could come cameo and some things in the future, like maybe as a guest thing. So we're leaving it up into the air, but we wanted to let you guys know that so that you're not rudely surprised when we start the next campaign.
You don't have to say goodbye forever to those Mark Clayton chaos vibes.
Yeah, yes.
They will be ever so lingering in the next campaign.
Yes. And then as far as like timing for the next campaign, we haven't committed to a specific date yet, but I think we can probably pretty confidently say sometime in Q2 we'll be returning, Q2 of 2025. So it'll be a few months out. We are going to be having some bonus episodes dropping from that were on our Patreon feed. So we will be releasing the NPC bonus episode that we did for Lincoln Ramsey, which I think is my personal fave of the bonus episodes that we've done so far.
No surprise.
I'm biased. So we're going to be doing an episode drop of that in, I think, 2 weeks. And then we're also going to be releasing one of the batches of our Dockers' Highlights blooper, just as some extra bonus content and kind of show you what the Patreon content sort of looks like so that when we do resume it, if it feels like something that you are interested in, you can go over there and get some bonus content.
We are also cooking up some Patreon content heading into this new year. Going to be trying to have some more guests from other pods come on and play with us or run a game for us. I will tease, I guess, one episode that we've partially recorded. We did do, I think, our one and only in-person session together, where I ran 10 candles. So keep an eye out on Patreon for that to light up your feed.
Mm-hmm. Hey, wordplay. There it is again. Second time. Lightning does strike twice.
Like I said, it happens rarely, but when it happens, it's good.
I'm the dad joker of the group.
Anyway, is there anything else to say? I think that's kind of it.
Oh, no, I feel sad.
I think the main thing is just the ongoing echo of something that John and all of you have said so far, which is just
thank you.
Big fucking thanks. Like we can't believe how much fun it's been to share this story with all of you and to hear, the positive feedback that we've been getting, the people who have been listening and not crying, but actually crying along with us. Mm-hmm. And I've often said that telling people what happens in these games feels like telling them the stories of a dream you had. And thank you all for sharing in this dream. This has been The Monsters Playbook, featuring
Detjen-Wander as Mark Clayton,
Lauren Johnson as Anna and Kira Ashwood,
Miah Detjen-Wander as Theo Nessos,
and Johnny Grubb as literally everybody else. The Monsters Playbook is produced and engineered by Miah Detjen-Wander and edited by Miah Detjen-Wander and Lauren Johnson. Our theme song is by me, Johnny Grubb. If you liked this episode, please tell a friend. We love friends. And if you just can't get enough of the Monsters Playbook, join us on Patreon. We have bonus episodes, exclusive merch, and patron-only mini-series and side stories. Or join us on Discord, where we pretty much just hang out. We're also on social media, obviously, so you can get updates on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Tumblr, and Blue Sky. We'll see you next episode where, as always, I'll have some good news and some bad news. Thanks for listening.
All right. Let's all clap on 3.
3.
What? No.
John,
1.
you're unstable.
1, 2, 3.
That's why we kicked you off the pod.
Love it.